Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. So I have a project for you today that I actually didn't know we were going to be doing this year, but I found the plants that I wanted to plant and I just grabbed them right away so that way we could put them in the ground. So I wanted to show you guys what I was doing, but I also want this to be more of an informational video in case anybody else is having the same kind of situation that we're going through. So you can see behind me that there's this trellis here. It's about maybe 7 feet tall or so. We built this whole fence over here a few years ago, and we put some stuff in. So like you can see there's a pussy willow bush here, and we planted this birch tree, and there's a lot of stuff in the front of it, but this is what connects the front yard to the backyard. So you can see the cars parked right there because we have the driveway right over there, and then it leads over to the front. I'll give you a better look a better view for what that looks like. Okay, so standing where the cars are, you can see the birch tree there, black-eyed Susans, different plants, other stuff like that. You walk in, I think we're eventually going to get rid of this grass because it's so hard for that to grow. And then this leads you to the backyard. So as you walk into here, you can see grass, vegetable garden, everything. So if I turn around, you can kind of see that view that I was looking at before. And let me shut this too, so that way you can kind of see better. So back here, we have these two plants that I'm going to be planting today, and then we have a row of arborvitaes here, and then nothing else here yet. What we would like to do is plant a row of lavender, and we're going to plant a smaller variety called Sweet Romance. That's going to border this whole area over here, and it'll give you like a nice purple color. So this whole area, we're doing kind of like a purplish yellow theme, if that makes sense. And these two plants that I got are going to tie in. But just before I show you those, I just want to more explain this whole trellis situation. So like I said, it's about 7 feet tall, and you can see it's also only about like a 3-foot opening. So it's not like there is a super large opening in between them. So we wanted to find something that was going to be vining over this trellis to kind of cover it, but not like incredibly, not like, you know, so you can't see nothing at all. And something that wasn't also going to take over the area. That's the hardest thing when you're trying to find vining stuff that doesn't take over. So we originally were looking at, we were looking at some other varieties of honeysuckles and maybe like a trumpet vine, that kind of stuff. But the thing about those is that they get really overgrown and they tend to be huge. Same thing goes with wisteria as well. So that's why we decided to go with these. The other thing that you could do if you have something like this would be maybe like a clematis. There's different varieties of clematis that will do that, and if they bloom on old wood, then you don't really have to cut it back and they can fill in that space nicely. You also could do like a climbing rose or that type of thing, as they don't get super crazy, but you just have to choose what's going to be good for the area. And with this space over here, because it's only about 7 feet tall, and they'll still grow on the fence a little bit too, but it's mostly going to be this area over here. We wanted to make sure we weren't going to do anything that's too crazy. So we decided to go with this plant. So it's from Proven Winners. It's called Scentsation Honeysuckle. So it is a honeysuckle, like I said before, but this variety is a bit more tamed. So if I open up the tag, you can see that it needs full sun, which it's pretty much going to get. As that birch tree grows, it's going to be a little bit more shade, but they're still going to get a decent amount of sun, especially like in the morning hours. They'll get sun from the other side because this side is east, that side is west, and they'll also get some later afternoon sun too. But going back to this tag, that does say non-invasive, and these are the features that are most important. So non-invasive, it's not going to take over the area, but it's still going to grow. It does have fragrant blooms, and I'll show you what the blooms look like in a second, and it also is long blooming. It says that they bloom from about mid-spring, it actually says it right over here, mid-spring to late summer. So that's a decent portion of the season, which is also another thing that we were really looking for. You can see when it's blooming, and the other things too that it says is zones 4 through 9 at the top here. And here's the other important thing that I was looking at. It only gets about 10 feet tall by 5 feet wide, which is really important because I was looking at some other vines on other tags, and they say something like 30 feet tall and 8 feet wide, or however they're trained. These are the type of vine that they grow, but they're not going to be crazy and just like never stop growing. They do have a maximum size, which is good, and we're still going to have to trim it back, but it's going to be a lot easier to maintain than anything else. And then deer resistance also says medium, so it's all right. We do have some deer in the area, but not too many, and especially being like more in the backyard, I think this will be all right. So I'm just going to plant them a couple feet away from the fence, and then that'll be it. Now they also do have a pretty good size to them. to begin with. Like you can see, like this fence is probably about 3 or 4 feet tall, so they're a pretty good size already. So I might like unravel some of this without trying to damage the plant and see if I can try to attach it to the fence already, but I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to do that for now. We may need to tie it up to begin, just to get it start to train, but then it should be able to take care of itself. And just so you know what the blooms look like, these are like a yellowish white bloom. So this actually just opened up this morning. Oops, if I can grab it. So you can see some of them are kind of yellow, some of them are kind of white, and they definitely have a nice scent to them. So it'll be nice when you walk into the backyard over here. They'll have a really, really nice scent, and you'll definitely notice them. And they should have a decent amount of blooms on them too. They don't have too many now just because they're still in their nursery cans, but once they go into the ground, they'll be pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just trim, because you can see that this is all grass for right now. This will eventually be flower beds, but we just weren't working on that project so much this year. That's going to be more of a next year project, and like as time goes on, maybe we'll add more stuff. But what I'm going to do for today is I'm going to dig a hole around each one, put them in the ground, and then I also bought a bag of mulch that I'm going to put around them to help with the moisture, so that way they don't dry out super fast, because this is still July that I'm planting them in. And it also will help too with weeds, so that way the grass doesn't grow, other weeds don't grow around it, that kind of stuff. All right, so besides that, I'm just gonna get started, and then that'll be it. Right, so that is all done. As you could see, I put them in the ground. I used some Biotone starter fertilizer to help kick them forward for the rest of the season, especially because, you know, I'm planting them right in the middle of summer, so I know that they are on a little bit more stress than they normally would if you planted them in the spring or the fall. And then I just used, actually I still have the bag over here. I just used a cedar mulch blend for the bag. It's a little bit different than the mulch that we've been using. Like if you look at it compared to that, it looks a little different, but that's okay, because we're going to end up putting different mulch in the yard anyways, so we'll just mulch on top of this, but this is better off for now. But I have each one of the plants here, and you can see that I tried my best to untangle them and then wrap them around. You can kind of see the same thing. What seemed to be the thing with both of these was that there was a bunch of the tall branches that were all wrapped together. So I tried to gently unwrap them as best as I possibly could without damaging them. Obviously, it's inevitable that there's going to be some that break. And there was a couple branches that ended up breaking off. But even then, like let's say this branch were to break, this would still end up growing from it. So it's not the worst thing in the world. But the plants look pretty good, so I'm happy about that. And you can see there's a little flower right here. So this is awesome. I think this actually still has a bunch of buds that need to open up anyways. So there's that. And then I'll show you the front too. If I walk out over here. So you can see I'm just starting to stick out a little bit more on this side. And we're just going to train them to eventually grow up this trellis. We also are going to replace these lights too, because those solar lights actually don't work for some reason. Like as soon as we bought them, they just stopped working. But we're going to replace those, and then this will grow all throughout here. And then we'll just trim it to make sure that there's nothing in the way of the door moving. Same thing with the clip over here, just making sure that that is free as well, and that we can still walk through this area without much of an issue. But I think that these are going to end up growing pretty fast. So we'll have to keep an eye on them. And then, like I said before, what we'll probably do next year is we'll just actually take this out and keep it going until around here. And then we'll plant a row of lavender here, just nice and simple. And then same thing over here, and we'll connect those two together. And it'll make a nice little corner, more lavender there, and I think that would look gorgeous. So, and you can see that now that the plant is there and everything, so we can open this gate probably till about here or so. And that's pretty much it, which is still plenty, like it's, you know, plenty open enough, so that way we can get things through. But it's obviously not going to be able to open up all the way anymore. And maybe we can see if there's something we can add to this, some sort of stop or something, so that way, you know, nobody accidentally opens it into the plant. But I'll have to see what my dad thinks and see if that's even possible. I'm sure there's some way to do it, but it's not too much of a concern for now, as long as we're careful. But it already looks so much better, and it looks good that there's at least something in this area. Like it looks like we're doing something with this instead of it just being grass. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. So like I said before, this was something that we wanted to choose because we didn't want anything that was going to take over too crazy, but still something that was going to add nice blooms, a lot to look at, and still, climb up that trellis as best as it can. The other thing that I said before that I think would be really good to choose would be some type of clematis, and there's so many different types, and you get a lot of variety with that too. But those are, like I would say, the proven winners honeysuckles. I'm not sure if there's any other varieties that do well, but I know that that one specifically, it's not invasive, it doesn't go crazy like other honeysuckles. So that and the clematis, those are two good options to use on a smaller trellis, something that you actually want to walk through, something that's not super big. Besides that, obviously, if you have a bigger area, then you can go for like a climbing hydrangea, a wisteria, a trumpet vine. Those types of things are better off. But I will put a link down in the description of this plant in case you want to read more on it. But besides that, I hope you guys like this video, and I will see you in the next one.